Hey, folks, welcome back to the program. We got the majority leader on the line. He is from the Arkansas House District 21, and his name is State Representative Marcus Richmond. Marcus, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing great, Paul. How are you today?
I'm doing great, sir. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. We've been doing these little segments called Impressions of the Session. And I've interviewed a lot of your colleagues, and it's been good all around. And so I'm just going to give you the floor, and you kind of take it where you want to take it. State Representative Marcus Richmond, what was your impression of the session 2019?
Well, I have to say, mixed. A mixed feeling towards it. I think that we did do a few things that were really good. I do believe that we raised too many taxes. That bothers me. It's always, we always overestimate just how much we're going to give people in a tax break, and then we underestimate how much a tax is going to cost the folks. And so overall, I feel that when you get right down to it, there's probably, maybe not everybody, but there'll be some that there's more money coming out of their pocket than what they're getting back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, hey, I mean that I think is the worst part of it, and I'm glad that we can accurately assess what happened when it comes to that particular issue. I think in the long term, some of these tax cuts that will eventually materialize will be will be good. I mean, who's going to say that they're not good? But yeah, more money coming out of people's pockets in the short term is certainly not what a lot of people expected,
Yeah, I know. The thing is that the hardest deal, one of the hardest things, and it's a lot harder than I ever imagined before I got down there, is actually trying to shrink government. Everything in the world is so much friction whenever you actually start trying to start government a little bit to go ahead and make those tax cuts easier or bigger, whatever you're trying to do. Whatever you do, again, everybody wants smaller government until you do something that affects their particular part of the government. And when people start howling, legislators, of course, they listen, and they get a little nervous, and so they won't go as far or do as much as what you would hope. But it's it's one of these things that you hope that at some point you do it. The transformation thing, I hope that there'll be some savings come out of that other than just be a big exercise of moving furniture. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
And it may be one of those deals where we have to go in like Representative Rick Beck with some of his legislation at some point, just trying to go ahead and squeeze the grape a little more and see what else comes out of it.
Yeah, that was really good legislation by him. I totally agree with that. We're talking with State Representative Marcus Richmond. He's the majority leader in the Republican-led Arkansas House of Representatives. So you said it was mixed. So you kind of got to the bad. So what was some of the good?
Well, I thought the good, again, a lot of people, of course, they scream about the tax, the very first tax cut that we did for the higher income. They look at that and go, oh, it's just something for the rich. I mean, you heard all the the rhetoric coming out of the other side and everything, how horrible it was. But again, they totally disregard the fact that that's going to help our small businesses, people that are S corporations, limited liability. The money that they make out of those businesses flow through them, so it puts them up in a higher tax bracket in a lot of cases. And in fact, when you get finished paying all the bills, you're not making that much money. So what they totally disregarded was the fact that it's going to help our small businesses, not just somebody that's putting a whole lot of money in their pocket, but somebody that you see cash coming through, and because the business does make money, they have to report that as if it's income coming directly to them. And so anything that helps small businesses, give them, especially now with the the minimum wage increases and stuff like that, those guys, it puts a lot of strain on being able to hire new people. When you go through that. So if we can help them, which I think that tax cut certainly did, then that makes a big difference. So that's a good one. The corporate tax cut part of the internet sales tax deal, that was good. The problem is now I couldn't vote for the internet sales tax because of the fact that they put the increase on the car washes. I just thought that was ridiculous. Thought that was something that shouldn't have happened. We tried very hard to just take it completely out and give remove the car washes entirely. But it wouldn't work that way.
Yeah.
And they kept referring back to the tax task force and all this other stuff. That was one of, well, that was just nonsense. That's just somebody had an issue with how things went earlier with some of the ads that were taken out against some of the people, and they didn't like it, in my opinion, and that's why that happened. And so I couldn't vote for that.
Do you mind being more specific? I'm not familiar with this. So.
No, I'm not going to. I have to work with some of these people.
Okay.
There may be something really important that I want one of these days. But it was on the other end of the house. It was on the south end of that northbound house that we're going on. So
okay.
That's it was down there. So while I really like the corporate tax cut, the internet sales tax. I knew that was going to pass at some point, and I had come to the realization and was okay to do that. Though I really wish we didn't have to. But of course, I always believe that when you say, well, it's not a new tax. Well, if you haven't been paying it, then as far as people are concerned, it is a new tax.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to the initial point. I mean, that's one of the big three bills I think that are going to end up taking more money from the people than before the session. And and the bill itself, Marcus, like you said, they had car washes in there. They had the corporate tax reform. I mean, that's kind of the sweet part about it. But then you got the internet part, and I was encouraged at the beginning of the session, like you mentioned, the income tax reduction was a straight income tax reduction over 2 years from 6.9 to 5.9. That's very easy to support. And like you said, you had the other side. And when I mean the other side, I mean it was a clear line. All the Democrats had their class warfare rhetoric, and all the Republicans were united for lower taxes, and it was black and white, cut and dry, and really good. But then you get something like, the internet sales tax, which might not have passed on its own because it didn't last time. And then you put the corporate income tax with it, which is, and so that's when you start getting, kind of a messy bill, and it becomes a lot grayer,
Yeah, the one thing, like I said, I really wanted to vote for the corporate income taxes. I was, when it first come out, the corporate income tax part of it really was totally insufficient from what needed to be done, and we went to work on it. The House end of it did. Basically, the leadership down there and also on the Senate, and the leadership went to work and said it's not enough. But we kind of had to push the Senate along on that particular one to get them. They were okay initially, but it was not enough for the corporate. But we got it better. However, it's still we need to continue working on that because, if we're going to compete with the states around us, we've got to continue to work on our tax, the whole tax system within the state of Arkansas. It's we're still out there when it comes to competition and everything. We're still a little bit behind, and we need to do something about that. So one of the other things that a lot of people have mixed feelings about, but I feel pretty good about, frankly, is the bill that we passed on roads and the highway situation because of. Really, I've got highways. They're no longer inconvenient where I live. They're dangerous. That was the biggest issue that I heard about during the whole campaign. And it's a bill that has a little something for everybody to hate. And with the fact that we took, hopefully, it looks like we're going to get about $85 million out of general revenue. To me, that's money that they can't grow government with, and it's the first time. This has been going on for 20 years. It's the first time that we've been able to do that. And maybe it shows, at least finally, after all of the battles. Because every time I've been down there, roads have come up. We've tried to come up with this solution, that solution. Some of them have been good. A lot of them have been bad. But when you're down there, you find out what's not going to work, what will not pass, what will get so much resistance that it'll simply die. And this one wasn't. And it was an opportunity to take some money and show another way to work on highways other than just raising their darn tax every time you get it. Now, bad part of that is, the half-cent sales tax. That was promised that that was going to die at some point. Of course, you and I both been around long enough. It doesn't seem like a tax ever dies.
Yeah.
It always gets somebody breathes some new life in it, and it continues to go. So, first of all, I wish that we'd have kicked that back 2 years instead of doing it now. We had time. But it comes to the floor, it passed, and the people will decide. But, again, I've talked about that before. Why didn't we decide? Let's go ahead and take responsibility, because we are responsible if that passes. The people vote for it and continue it and make it a permanent thing, then, ultimately we were the ones that were responsible.
Yeah, that's true.
But, and it's an easy thing to say that, the people decided on that. Well, okay, if you want to say that, but that tax increase, we decide.
Yeah.
If that's going to happen or not.
Well, yeah, I really appreciate your candor, your honesty. We're talking with State Representative Marcus Richmond, the majority leader of the Arkansas House of Representatives. Marcus, what about school choice? No real movement on that. That was interesting to me. But also, if you can kind of address school choice, but also towards the end of the session there was sanctuary cities, because that was a ending on a moment of unity.
Yeah, the school choice deal is. That's a divisive one with the Republicans here in the state of Arkansas. We ought to be able to get on board with that. I believe in parental choice. I think a parent should be able to, if their kid's stuck in a bad school, then we ought to be able to give them some options. And several things were tried. We tried to do it just with Pulaski County, and we all know that Pulaski School District, there's some issues with some of those schools, and it got killed. I mean, the Democrats and too many Republicans decided that we're not going to give those parents a choice. And it all comes back down to, my superintendent in my school district, in my district he's a great guy, this and that and whatever. And they can turn up the heat, and they feel like that all those people are going to vote against them, but heck, most of the time they're not voting for you anyway. So, go ahead and give parents a chance. I mean, the problem this time was the members on the committee, and I don't know why or how it just happened. The members on the education committee, that was a tough group to get anything through, and they just couldn't do it. And we're going to have to go back. I've talked about this with the school choice people. Looking at it and coming up with, bits and pieces and whatever we need to do. We may have to slice it up and pass a little bit of this and a little bit of that in order to finally get something there, because we're just having trouble with it, and it's crying shame. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, hopefully we can, I can continue to work with our colleagues and make them realize that you're taking a choice away from parents.
Yeah.
But it's, the education lobby, like I refer to them as the education mafia. Those guys, when they come after you, boy, it's tough for people to go against them.
Yeah.
I mean, they all have relationships, and they all, sit there and pat you on the back and tell you what a great job you're doing until you start talking about school choice, and then they go after you.
What about the sanctuary cities towards the end of the session?
Well, I thought that was one of the big deals that come out of it, because and it was tough. Again, everybody, when it initially went in, a couple of things happened in the committee, and I'm on that committee, and some people got called out at the wrong time. And we thought the debate was going to go on much longer, but also, when it was first voted on, it failed. But we knew we could bring it back, and one of the things that we really wanted to see was the Democrat strategy, what they were going to try to do. And of course, it was all about the fiscal impact, and I think Brent Smith, you probably had him on, and he talked quite a bit about that. So, I won't regurgitate that particular part of it, but it got really what it did. It helped us see the their strategy and how they were going to try to stop it, both in the committee and then on the floor, and we were prepared for that. What was crazy about that was, one lady, a very nice lady, comes in, and she's talking against it. And she's talking about her husband, being he was not her husband, but her father being an immigrant from someplace, and he was a Marine. He was at least a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps, I think. And I didn't get a chance to ask her. I sure wanted to, listen to that. But I just wanted to ask her, if, is your father, because like I said, I spent 22 years in the Marine Corps. So your father, you're telling me that he supports people breaking the law? I don't believe that. I really not a kind of Marine that I did serve with. He wouldn't believe that at all. And then, this was one that really irritates me watching how they did it. And then we go to the floor, and I talked about it on the floor, and of course then I got lambasted by my colleagues on the Democrat side. But I thought one of the most hypocritical moments was when one of the representatives on the other side got up and talked about how we should think about Jesus, and what would Jesus do, and all that other stuff. And the question that come to mind, and I'm too nice to do it, I'm trying not to create hate, discontent there on the floor. But, the question that come to mind is, well, why did you vote against all the abortion bills?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to bring religion into it, let's bring it into it, and let's talk about your record on abortion. The fact that you're taking life and doing everything you can to make sure that a woman. I mean, some of those people they let you when it comes to choice. Some of them I think would give a woman a choice that, hey, 6 months after the kid's born, if you don't like it, go ahead and have them put down. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
I know there are papers that have been written about that, how you're not really sentient until you're 2 years old. So it's the same thing. Yeah. Really, really evil stuff. And matter of fact, I think that one representative you're talking about during the abortion debates that you guys passed some great pro-life bills. She used scripture to try to advocate the pro-life or the pro-choice position, which was absolutely a travesty. It really was. State Representative Marcus Richmond, we're out of time, sir. Thank you so much for your impression of the session. It's always great to talk to you, sir.
Good to talk to you, Paul, and you take care and have a safe day.
Okay, you too. Be safe.